Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society. We are grateful to gather on this beautiful morning, both in person and online, for a time of inspiration, reflection, and connection. Whether you join us today with joy in your heart, weighted with burdens, or searching for meaningful connections, we are glad that you are here. I'm the Reverend Diana Smith, the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Society. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a somewhat tall white woman in my mid-40s with short, curly white and brown hair, blue-green glasses, a blue shirt, teal shirt, and black suit with a very colorful stole, standing in UUS's pulpit at the front of our sanctuary. Our sanctuary and the adjoining religious education commons are filled with people of all ages, and I see more coming on in. Come on in. Through the window walls of our sanctuary, we connect with the outdoors, with the natural world around us, where it is a lovely, cool, late summer day. As we gather, we give thanks for this land and all who have cared for it over the centuries, particularly the Kickapoo, the Iowa, the Sauk, and the Meskwaki, and the Oceti-Sakowin nations. As people of many ages, genders, races, sexual orientations, classes, abilities, and health statuses, we know how important it is to come together and work together to create a radically welcoming spiritual community. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith expresses our core value of love through how we agree to be together and to support each other. We're guided by the shared principles, sources, and values of our living religious tradition. And this morning, we'll celebrate and explore how community care helps us live into our value of interdependence. And in case you missed it, towards the end of our worship service today, we will be having a fire drill. So more about that later. If you're newer to our congregation, we invite you to learn more about us after the service. For those who are here in person, you can talk to a greeter in the atrium. And for those online, there's a link to a visitor form in the YouTube show notes that will let us connect with you. And now our call to worship comes from the Reverend Sophia Betancourt, who is the Unitarian Universalist Association's president. She writes, "Communal care is the living promise of faith communities. It encompasses all that we offer to each other and all that might come into being because of our choices to freely associate together over time. Communal care is found in the small acts that tie communities together, and it is found in the seemingly impossible visions for the future, visions that can only be realized across generations. Communal care calls us to become good ancestors, to provide a foundation of love and justice that will sustain those who are yet to come." In that spirit and in the spirit of our fire drill, let's begin our service joining our voices in song. We'll be singing hymn number 1028, "The Fire of Commitment." I'm glad that y'all liked that. The words are found on the screens or in your teal hymnal 1028. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Good morning. I'm Andrew Levitt, a 6'2" tall, white, cisgender male in my early 50s, wearing a Hawaiian shirt. As Unitarian Universalists, we light a flame within the chalice as a symbol of sanctuary and safety to unite us in our worship and to remind us of our ongoing search for truth. Please join with me in saying our chalice lighting as Edie lights our chalice. Come on up, Edie. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the wonder and mystery of this great gift. So let us now kindle the flame of our liberal religious heritage and renew our covenant of mutual love and care. Love is our doctrine, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to serve those in need, this we promise, this we covenant with life and one another. Each week we light a candle of justice and healing to acknowledge our interdependence with the natural world and with all members of the global community, especially the most vulnerable. We light this candle so that we may not be numbed to injustice and trauma, but rather find strength, courage, and love as we work in solidarity with others for liberation, justice, and healing. Together we create resilience and hope. Today, as we light this candle, we're particularly mindful of the ongoing strife throughout the world within the Ukraine, Sudan, Israel, and all those innocents who are brought into this struggle. As I light this candle, let's hold a time of silence to listen to our hearts and bodies, or perhaps to lift up prayers.
Good morning. Ooh. The one week we don't do a mic check. The one day we don't do a mic check. Of course. All right. So, good morning, everyone. Now that you're all nice and awake. My name is Nick Kaplan. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the grateful director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UUS. Today, I have on some blue and green to match our beautiful day outside. So, what do you know? I need help from everyone here. What do you know about staying safe if there's a fire? Yeah, what do you know? Yeah, so for those of you who couldn't hear them, Dara was telling us about how you have to go down low because the smoke rises and you want to get down underneath the smoke, so getting down low. Yeah, what else do we know? Yeah, what do we know about staying safe? Listen to grown-ups. So sometimes we need to know where to go, and so we might have to listen to someone else. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so Alex was telling us if you have a closed door that you can't see through and you need to test to see if it's hot, you should use the back of your hand against the door before opening it so that you know if the fire's on the other side. Yeah, what's something else? Stop, drop, cover, and roll if you have fire, right? A lot of the adults in here didn't learn that cover part, but it's really important. Stop, drop, cover, and roll. Yeah, and what do we need to do? What else do we need to do? Leave the building! Thank you. So in fire safety, we talk about knowing, you should know 2 ways out at all times, right? Because what if that door was hot? Great job. We've got at least 2 from this room with lots in the back, though. When we learn about fire safety and what to do in case of a fire, another thing that we are told is that we cannot hide, right? So what are you supposed to do if you're trapped in a room and you can't get out? You could go through the window if that's a safe choice, but if there's not a choice for you, should you hide in a closet or under the bed to get away from the fire? No. What should we do? Stay low and stay out in the open, right? If there's not a safe way to leave, hold on. I'll ask for more stuff in just a moment. Thanks. I love that you want to help me. So if there's not a safe way to leave the room, then at the very least, we need to stay out in the open where help can come to us more easily, right? Thank you. Yes. Okay. So we talked through these fire safety things, and we've all had times in our lives where we're learning about fire safety. What if we thought about other areas of our life like we think about fire safety? What if we learn, and what if we practice? Does anyone in here find trying something new or meeting new people to be a scary thing? Yeah, not everyone, but some people do. Some people find new situations, new people to be a scary thing. So what if we use that? What if we treated those experiences of being in new situations or meeting new people the same way that we treat fire safety? What if we practice? What if we learn as much as we can about different places, different foods, and different people the way that we practice in case of a fire? This past week, we just did that on a very small scale at Peace Camp. On Thursday, this past week of Peace Camp, 33 campers and I talked about world peace. And the way that we talked about world peace and how we can work toward world peace is trying to understand people who have different experiences than we do, people who come from different cultures than we do. We talked about how when the people around us are different from us, it can be scary, or we can feel alone. We also talked about the line from Beauty and the Beast, when Gaston is trying to get the villagers to go and attack the beast. We don't like what we don't understand. In fact, it scares us. We don't like what we don't understand. In fact, it scares us. So if the things that we don't understand scare us, which is a very human response, what are we doing to understand, to build connections? What if, like learning about fire safety and practicing our fire safety skills, what if we find a way to practice, to create connection and understanding with people who are different from us and new experiences so that we don't have to feel afraid anymore? Sometimes we have to move through something scary to get to a safe place, like getting outside if there's a fire in the building. let's remember the next time we're feeling a little bit scared in a different situation. Let's move toward the safety. Or at the very least, please don't hide under the bed. Thank you. Now, we are at the part in our service where children and youth and teachers go off to religious education classes. So, if you would like to go outside for religious education one more time this summer, please come forward as Alex lights our chalice and Kendra lights our lantern. Hold on, wait for me. And Kendra leads us in our lantern ritual song.
Nurturing gratitude and how we understand and express interdependence is part of how we live into our Unitarian Universalist faith. As we enter into our time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer, we acknowledge the joys and sorrows of our congregation. We do this by dropping stones into a bowl of water, symbolically immersing our personal joys and sorrows into the flow of all of life's joys and sorrows. The water surrounds and holds the stone, just as we are surrounded and held by the love and support of this congregation. If you're participating in our service elsewhere, you may wish to meditatively hold a stone, wash your hands, or meditate on an object near you. And now, if you're in the sanctuary and feel called to do so, please come forward, take a stone from the basket, and place your stone in the water as Kendra plays.
As we move deeper into a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. I invite you to settle into this space, to find a comfortable way of sitting. If you're comfortable doing so, I invite you to close your eyes. Or you might want to find a spot out the window to look at some flowers or trees, to sink into the beauty of nature. Whether your eyes are closed or open, I invite you to notice the breath moving through your body, moving through the world. How the breath moving through your body and the wind stirring the leaves are connected. As you feel this connection, breathing out and breathing in. May you notice how you can let the stresses and the tensions and the worries sink out into the ground, up into the sky, leaving your body to be joined with all, to become part of the flow of life, to be grounded in earth. And as you sit here breathing out and breathing in, as the earth breathes out and in, may you notice how you are connected, how you are nourished and cared for by all those around you, by Earth herself. May you find a little easing. May you find a source of joy, a place of sharing. In these moments and in these ways, may we find peace, strength, love, connection, and joy to keep going, to keep growing, to live love ever more fully, ever more fiercely in this world. Amen. Blessed, blessed be.
Adrienne Maria Brown is a social justice facilitator, healer, doula, and pleasure activist living in Detroit. She is a student of emergence, somatics, transformation, and science fiction. This passage comes from her book, Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Changing Worlds. Over the years, as I have come to believe that facts, guilt, and shame are limited motivators for creating change, even though those are the primary forces we use in organizing our work. I suspect that to really transform society, we will need to make justice one of the most pleasurable experiences we can have. We also have to stop demonizing pleasure. We try to leverage control over the natural world by making our emotions and sensations less reliable than our thoughts, and then burn at the stake anyone who stays attuned to the ways and power of pleasure in the natural world. It's counterproductive. What we pay attention to grows. This is a hard world, but it is also a world of love and pleasure. I am of that, attending to and growing that. We have the capacity to heal one another. Healer is a possibility within each of us. In my experience, healing happens when a place of trauma or pain is given full attention, really listened to. Healing is the resilience instinct of our bodies, a skill we unlearn as we are taught to pay for and rely on data and medicine outside our awareness to be well. I have been discovering or surrendering to my gifts as a healer. There is a way I can open up to my presence, voice, and touch. I can open up my presence, voice, and touch to an energy greater than what my body or life has given me. Then truth, comfort, ease, release, and other healing experiences can flow through. Wholeness and acceptance of what it is can be felt. Beyond birth, I have found that being a doula to be a role that applies to many aspects of life. Birth work teaches us to engage tension, but not to indulge drama. It is another form of facilitation, making the miraculous experience of birth as easy as possible, intervening with systems that make the process harder, helping the family attend to each other and to listen to what the body is saying, staying focused on the possibility and wisdom of the body, standing or sitting with someone as they remember their own wholeness. That is the work and the healer of a doula. My healing work is just pushing back the external world, making more space for people to feel themselves.
To paraphrase her a bit, Adrienne Maree Brown writes, "My healing work is just pushing back the external world, making more space for people to feel themselves. It's helping people attend to each other, helping people stay focused on the possibility and wisdom of the body, helping people remember their own wholeness, our own wholeness." Quite a few years ago now, after former President Trump instituted his Muslim ban, I went to a protest with congregants in Boston to show support for our Muslim friends and neighbors. By the time we got to the protest, we were so far away that we couldn't truly hear any speeches. Maybe all have experienced something like that. A new person began talking, and even though we couldn't hear what was being said, everyone got and stayed very quiet to try to listen, to show respect. There was something awesome about being in such a crowd of thousands, with everyone being quiet to show our respect for something we were connected to even though we couldn't hear it. There was something healing in that. After the unheard speeches ended, I remained. Suddenly, some people asked for the crowd to make a circle so that Muslims who were there could pray as we had reached an anointed hour. The crowd made a circle, a man called people to prayer, and many people gathered in the circle, following traditional Muslim prayer postures and words. Others of us held the circle. There was something unspeakably wonderful about doing so in the midst of a crowd with all those who were around and aware, holding the silence and praying in our own ways. Holding space. Creating safety. I've been in many crowds during many protests and marches, and often, as a minister, it's been my privilege to help hold a certain kind of sacred space, as well as to help keep peace when there were agitators and counter-protesters. In more recent years, serving as a peacekeeper during 2 national elections in Milwaukee through my connection with UU The Vote, I had the privilege of helping make polling places safer for people to enter by effectively countering people who were engaged in voter intimidation. And lately, experiences as diverse as engaging with Iowans who are creating new systems to support, it's systems in response to this state's abortion ban, crafting concrete ways to support local racial justice work through Johnson County Interfaith Coalition, engaging with traffic stops, and having people help me while I was having car trouble in Yellowstone, have caused me to reflect again on how we care for ourselves and others. All this has caused me to reflect on how we make the sentiment of our love and care reality by how we show up and by how we support the fundamental security and sanctity of our neighbors' lives and bodies. How we show up and how we care for one another differs based on what each of our bodies allows, based on each of our physical abilities and locations, based on our identities and privileges. And yet, we can show up for each other in some way, no matter what. Showing up to support safety and sanctity of our neighbors' bodies can feel scary, intimidating, and unsafe. It can force us to question the ways we've defined safety and comfort and the difference between these two. And it can beckon us to confront questions about how our participation in various ways of creating safety supports the status quo, supports the hierarchy, or how it helps dismantle it. While we can disconnect from the need to show up for each other because of physical or spiritual pain, we can show up for each other in many, many ways. How we pay attention to, connect with, and care for ourselves and each other, even, or perhaps especially, in the midst of pain or tension, affects our mental, emotional, and spiritual health. In the reading we heard, Adrienne Maree Brown, who is, among other things, a doula, or a birth coach, if you're not familiar with the word doula, was talking about how birth work teaches a lesson that's important for our lives, our justice work, and other places where we need to persevere or heal. She said, and I hope you take this with you, it's important to engage the tension, but not indulge the drama. When we're in any kind of transition point in the world or in our individual lives, we often have trouble bearing with the tension. Rather than engaging the tension and acting in ways that reflect our values and move us to more health, it's easier to get caught up in the drama, or, I would add, disconnect, zone out, or live out old patterns. But if we're going to get to what's next in a way that's really connected with our bodies and our spirits, we need to develop our capacity to bear with the tension, to be vulnerable and engage. We need to develop our capacity to move into the flow and be with the process. We need to stay in the conversation, stay in the game, stay in the work. Developing our capacity to be vulnerable and engage with the tension in our lives and in the world can be difficult, but even though it is also immensely life-giving. One way we can develop our capacity to be vulnerable is by remembering our wholeness, connecting with our whole selves and with each other, and staying connected. After all, as Maurice Mitchell shared in a recent conversation on Prentice Hemphill's podcast, Becoming the People, safety is actually generated through relationship and connection. It's about being a healthy we, a healthy collective. It's about doing the inner work to recognize and trust that there is enough connection here within ourselves and amongst our communities to do the hard work, to bear with the tension, to move forward. And so, perhaps cultivating this capacity, doing this inner work, is one of the most radical things that we can do in our culture. We can reject the dualism that says that mind is separate from body. We can reject the ideas of perfectionism and individualism. We can notice how we depend on each other. We can affirm that we are intimately connected to all life. We are part of the interconnected web of life, which includes our own bodies, our human community, other creatures, and all of creation. We can notice these amazing, intricate, gorgeous connections, and then we can ask what attitudes and actions they're inviting us into. Remembering our wholeness requires engaging with vulnerability and tension. And it requires remembering ourselves, bringing the missing parts of ourselves and our community back in, bringing them back and tending them. When we can remember our wholeness and stay connected, we're more able to let ourselves come apart in healthy responses to grief, fears, anxieties, and losses of the world, and be held by loving community. And so, this year, as we re-engage with the crucial work that we're called to, let's lean into this crucial work of remembering ourselves, of bringing in our missing pieces, of healing our communities, of knowing there's enough tension here to bear with the tension. There's enough health here to bear with the tension of tending our joy. Let's develop our capacity to notice the difference between comfort and safety, the difference between bearing with the tension and indulging the drama. And in doing so, let's develop our capacity to notice, attend to, and deepen how we show up for ourselves and each other. For in doing so, we're able to engage more fully with what it means to be community, to be whole, to be part of the miraculous experience of life. This is holy work. May we practice it and encourage each other to engage the tension and the joy. Amen. Blessed be.
How we give, what we do with our lives, our time, our resources, is a reflection of our values. In response to the abundance we are blessed with, every week this congregation donates generously to organizations in the community whose work aligns with our values and principles. Our community partner agency this month is the Center for Worker Justice. The CWJ pursues social and economic justice through community empowerment, leadership development, popular education, coalition building, organizing, mobilizing, and policy advocacy to drive structural and institutional change. Cultural projects include combating wage theft, organizing tenants to protect safe, affordable housing, taking action in support of immigrant families, and sponsoring community education and family programs. In the sanctuary, the ushers will collect the offering, or you can follow the instructions on the screen for how to give online. All cash contributions go directly to our community partner agency. In addition to assisting our community partner, you may contribute towards our pledge to your pledge to our society, or contribute to the congregation to provide additional support for the operating expenses. You may also contribute by check using the memo line to designate the purpose. The offering is a sign of commitment to this free congregation, which is completely supported by the generosity of all who join us. As we give and receive this offering, may we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts.
am so glad you're applauding, because in a moment you're going to need to applaud again. So, this is, as some people may know, Kendra's last Sunday with us as our summer pianist. Next Sunday, August 25th is our in-gathering Sunday, where our church year begins, our liturgical year begins. Xinghui Lu, who's been in Taiwan over the summer, will be returning, and Kendra will be going on to other things. So I invite you to express your appreciation for Kendra once again. Kendra, we are so grateful for the music you have shared with us this summer, and are hoping that as long as you remain in Iowa City, you'll be on our sub-roster. So, awesome. So after our fire drill and during our fellowship time, I hope that you'll talk to Kendra individually and tell her more about how much you've appreciated her music this summer. For now, though, we're going to move into what's next. Because one of the things we're talking about today, as you may have realized, is about community care as it relates to disaster preparedness. There should be a slide appearing momentarily that I'm going to talk through. So, first off, I want to talk about when something happens like a fall or somebody gets a little injury. Who here knows where our first aid kits are? Okay, we've got a few people. All right, our first aid kits are marked out on this with those little blue triangles. There's one in the entryway, there are ones in the religious education areas. Different doors have little signs on them that say first aid kit, and there should be a first aid kit behind those. There's also an AED, which stands for, I should have written this out, automatic electric defibrillator? Something like that? All right, I'm getting some thumbs up from some people who actually know. An AED is that thing that shocks somebody's heart if they are having a heart attack or another cardiac issue. Our AED is located where that little purple heart is. It's near the front doors. And the wonderful thing about an AED is it tells you what to do. And if somebody does not need a shock, it will not give them a shock. So if somebody goes down and you don't feel a pulse, you grab the AED, or you yell at somebody and they grab the AED. You also yell, call 911. Because that is one of the things that gets missed the most, is calling 911, because everybody always thinks somebody else is going to do it. And you get the AED and you put it on somebody's heart, it tells you exactly what to do. It's all good. But also, who here is trained in first aid, CPR, and AED use? Can you raise your hand? Look around. We've got lots of people. So also, if something happens to somebody, also just yell out, is anybody trained in first aid? Right? And then somebody who's trained in first aid can help the person, and somebody else can go get one of those first aid kits. All right. Next up, fire extinguishers. We have lots of fire extinguishers around the building. They are where those little red dots are. So there's one right out here. There's the kitchen, RE wing, offices. And last but not least, tornado shelters. Who here knows where to go if we have a tornado? All right, some of you actually know, and some of you are looking at the gray boxes, which is awesome. I love it if you're looking at the gray boxes. That's not cheating. I'm not going to make us go to the tornado shelters today, because I still want you to like me after this is over. Our tornado shelters, this little AV room here is a tornado shelter. The bathrooms are a tornado shelter. I'm not going to make us all go hide in the bathrooms right now, but that's a place to go. The Religious Education Commons. And if you're in the fellowship hall, there's a storage room that you can go into, not the facilities rooms, okay? But just storage rooms. So there's one in that back corner. So that's our tornado shelters. And then we need to talk about evacuation routes. If we are having a worship service on a Sunday and the fire alarm goes off like it will shortly, we have multiple evacuation routes. We have people who are at the front of the sanctuary or are in the religious education wing can go out through this door and then along that hallway and out a door at that end of the building. If you're in the back of the sanctuary, you can go out the back and outdoors on both sides of the building. Everyone should go around the building one way or another and end up on the west end of the parking lot. Shortly, we're going to hang out there. We're going to evacuate. We're going to go out there. We're going to get some snacks, because I want you to have a positive association with this experience. You're going to get snacks in the right location. And the reason that's the right location is because if there's a fire, we're going to have fire trucks showing up. And we don't want people to be standing or sitting in the places where the fire trucks are going to go. But we do want you to use all the doors and get out of the building. So does everybody have that? All right, so we have evacuation areas here, out both doors. And in a moment, folks in the back are going to pull that fire alarm, and we are going to head out. Folks who are online, I'm going to be sending out information in our weekly email for everybody to be able to look at this map a little bit better and to hear about what we do in cases of emergencies. And, oh, there we go. All right, please head out.